So welcome, Amir. Amir is the co-founder of AI Commons, Chief Innovation Officer at XPRIZE. He's also the curator and co-founder of the AI for Good Global Summit that was run by ITU and the UN agencies. He has managed 2 venture funds and continues to support and advise companies and initiatives with a focus on exponential technologies and transformation of humanity and society. So he has no free time, and I can tell you that he cares about this. So thank you, Amir, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Tara. This is my pleasure to be with you today.
So Amir, let's start by telling us what AI Commons is and why did you start it?
Thank you, Tara. AI Common started about 5 years ago in spirit when we started working on thinking about how AI, which was growing of interest in the public eye, could be used for meaningful problems and problems that matter in real life. In fact, AI has been used in many directions. It has been used for self-driving cars. It's used in weather mapping. It is used for detecting stock trading. It is used to do better diagnostic of medical issues. It is used to help students learn better. And in fact, AI can be used in a much wider spectrum. So this thinking and conversation started in 2015 when the United Nations designed and published the Sustainable Development Goals, which was the first time after the Millennium Goals where a very clear framework was identified to talk about the world's problems and how we can actually have indicators to progress towards them. So we use that as a backdrop and start thinking about the application of AI in many areas, such as health, poverty, gender equality, improvement of economic behavior, and so forth. And I think that the Sustainable Development Goals, short SDG, will basically highlight. And the number of organizations are working towards those goals. They have basically a social mandate. They have also a desire to improve stakeholder management and improve society's benefits. So how AI can be used for those goals was a question that we asked. And we designed a competition with XPRIZE at that time, asking the simple question, what would use AI to solve a grand challenge? And what is that grand challenge and how do you put humans in the middle of that? Because the world is not just a world where AI is going to be everywhere. It's a world where we live with AI and we use AI for our benefits and we're not manipulated by AI or there's negative impact of AI. So that question led to many thousands of individuals around the world, more than 140 countries, to respond and propose ideas, solutions, problem definitions about what it does. That was the beginning of us thinking about AI for good, as AI should be used for good, and we started and launched this with the help of a partner at that time, United Nations Agency, ITU, with XPRIZE. We launched this global summit to ask that question. And as we were asking that question, we realized that, in fact, AI is not well understood. Not everyone has literacy about machine learning and AI. And in fact, many have interest in the benefits that AI can provide, but don't have a voice in it. So this summit helped us understand that there are, in fact, 2 types of users or people: those who are really caring about the problem and championing a problem and living that problem, or interested in that problem deeply and fundamentally well-informed. We call them problem owners. And the engineers, entrepreneurs, solvers, technologists, curious-minded that want to solve problems that may not live in that problem, but have the tools, the ability, the training, and the desire to help with that problem. So we call the problem solvers. And these 2 groups are not talking with each other. They don't often see each other. And sometimes problem solvers read an article about a problem, but don't get to speak to the problem owners. They don't get to travel and see that problem firsthand. So this conversation led us also to say, how can we connect the 2? Connecting problem owners and problem solvers is an important, probably, step towards better understanding how we can collaborate. And if AI and machine learning has to be part of that solution, how can we actually make AI usable by everyone? AI today is used by many organizations and corporations, is of course developing interest and investment, but we are not in a place where we can define AI as like water or the public gardens available to everyone. So how can we do that? So AI Commons was created as a nonprofit organization to promote the idea that AI could maybe become a public good. And if AI needed to be a public good, what it needed to have? What is the mechanism? What is the the attributes of a public good. And before we can define and answer that questions, let's try to put together and understand how problem solving makes sense, and therefore how we can actually push it to become a public good at one point and available to everyone. So AI Commons was created to support that and to help basically everyone solve problems. If AI has predictive capabilities and magical ones at some point, well, everyone has to have access to that. It should be democratized. But democratizing AI doesn't necessarily mean that everyone should be trained as a machine learning expert or everyone should be trained as a data scientist. But everyone should have at least some knowledge of data and understanding data. We all drive cars, but not all of us are mechanics or designing cars. But we get the benefit of having a driver's license and the privilege to drive on roads and safely drive those cars. So if that metaphor would be to be applied in the world of problem solving and real problem solving, everyone that lives life and sees problem around them and want to improve them should have a shot at it and should have a shot at using it. So this is what AI Commons is about, and this is a journey that we started, and we're learning every day.
Yeah, and I'm glad, Amir, you have not stopped, because I think the world needs this. So maybe we can go straight into the Knowledge Hub, and I will share the screen that you have. So do you want to talk us through what these problems are, and how young people who are looking for problems to solve or make an impact, how can they get started?
Yes, absolutely. This page that you see that we call Knowledge Hub comes from the thinking that I mentioned before, which is identifying problems that are local and matching those problems that are well-defined with problem solvers and together find a first solution. Problems often have multiple solutions. There's not one singular solution for a problem. The problems are different. A problem in Tunisia may have similar connotations in Vietnam or in Chile, but have different solutions because of different realities of culture, implementation, economics, and so forth. But we actually try to get at least one solution to a problem and define and explain how this is done. So this portal is an attempt at starting that. And we've worked in 3 countries, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and in Tanzania, and worked with about 500 people and identify about 200 problems and define 40 solutions. So this is a project that was run in 2020 during COVID time, where we couldn't travel and all online. So which means that if we can have now more travel and more ability to travel and to meet with people, maybe this could also grow. But COVID didn't stop us. So this portal basically is organized into, and this is, think of it as a beta portal. We're not claiming that this is perfect. This is ready to use by everyone. You may have some bugs, but at least it shows the direction that we're going. It is usable and it has real information that has been gathered by all those 500 people that I mentioned. So the website is organized in 3 buckets: problem, solutions, and data sets. And we can scroll slowly to the side to see that we can explore different solutions that have been provided by local teams. We can explore different problems, and we can explore data sets. We always start by a problem, and we look at the problem, and then we look at solutions. I'm going to show you one of them, which is Better Farm. And this was done in Nigeria. The topic is about food and nutrition. And this is an important problem because, in fact, there is. Do you want me to talk about it right now?
Yeah, go for it.
So the problem that was identified in this example is that there is a lot of food spoilage and wastage globally, of course, and in Nigeria specifically, that has today 200 million people population and is projected to double by 2050 in a short time, is growing an existential food crisis. Every year, there's an estimate of 30 to 40% food produced that are ultimately wasted, and most of them are close to farms. And in fact, most of the population is dying today due to hunger, And Nigeria has the highest number of children, stunted children under the age of 5, that are at risk of dying. And in fact, Nigeria is considered to have 30% of all children stunted by nutrition in the world. So this is an interesting problem scoping, because on one hand, there is a growing hunger in Nigeria, specifically with children. On the other side, there is not enough food production, but the food that is produced, or the growing ingredients of food that is produced, are wasted because of pest infection, because of not having enough knowledge about whether this crop or this plant is safe to eat, and this causes a real issue. So the solution, so this is how the website identifies that, and the website shows the problem importance, described it, and then identified how to approach it. And you can see that we have identified the few people that call solution owners, who not only identify the problem, but they start solving for it. So everyone is named here, and these are the real people. One of them is a student, one of them is a data scientist, another is a chemistry student, and the team lead is a technology person. And they look at this problem that was defined by someone else during a problem definition workshop, and they took ownership of that and said, we're going to solve for that. And you can see that we give credit to them in terms of their information, their contact information, the GitHub, and we asked them to define the solution, how they wanted the solution to be described. So they defined the solution, which is quite lengthy. I'm going to scroll so we can see it. And then the solution has an output. It's been used. So the solution pretty much is a prototype of an application for farmers to use imaging data to take pictures and to define whether that food is wasted or not, or if the crop is safe to use or not. So by a simple yes, no through image recognition, this helps farmers that are not fully trained to have the ability to decide to keep food or not to waste food. The solution intention is to be basically provided to farmers in the form of an app, but also to have a desktop usage. And you can see that this solution is taking into account a number of issues such as ethics and safety risk and others. They're all documented. So if someone wanted to look at this problem and solution, the point of this page is to highlight both problem and solution, but also to give anyone an opportunity to download the data sets, to look at the model that has been developed, to test the prototype, and to replicate that. It has been evaluated, and you can see that have been reviewers that evaluated that. And the problem is fully documented, and people can download that full documentation, and you can see just a sample of it here in HTML format or as a PDF. So this is an example of one case which is related to food and nutrition, which has been identified, documented, and one solution has been developed in Nigeria by local people with the help of data science Nigeria that matched them. So this matching effort that happened was done during hackathons that we created, and those hackathons were organized in 3 countries, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and Tanzania. So that's one example of what contains in this portal. And you can see we can navigate. There are many others. One of them is, for instance, is about malaria classification, or diagnostics, or prevention of anxiety and depression. Many people have been growing stress and anxiety during COVID time, and so forth. So this is the full scope, and there's a search engine that people can search from. Maybe I can give them a second example, or maybe you have another question, Tara.
Yeah, I think, Amir, maybe we move on to just the details of how, say, for instance, if the beta farm example, what is the next step? Like if I wanted to work on it, and I don't really know too much about AI, so, but I want to help, and maybe I can help with collecting data or testing it. So what's the next step for that particular problem?
That's a very good question. So the solution prototype today, and we call it the prototype because solutions have to become robust by multiple usage and testing, is primarily used for farmers and be tested on food waste and pest infestation. But there are many other scenarios where food can be wasted. It could be wasted in packaging, it could be wasted to transportation, it could be wasted in many other places. So the problem roots starts at a farm with lack of knowledge about whether the food is spoiled or the harvest is damaged or there are some pest issues, but there are others down the line. So to improve on that solution, I think we need to define more data capture about other problems that could happen during the whole cycle of food production to food delivery. The solution I put today is both a mobile phone and app and a desktop interface that displays results in form of image, maps, text, charts that are easy to understand by farmers and easy to interpret by them. But to get it bigger, today the application that has been created through this serves as a collecting and transferring data to a central base. If we have ability to have many more farmers and volunteers to use this app and collect data, this ensemble of data, this repository of data could become basically a repository of farmland and agricultural production in Nigeria, in the country, and be used by others, therefore to improve the modeling of that mobile app or the desktop app, to have more accurate data, to have better prediction, and to be probably more precise as well. So by collecting data on a continuous basis and to continuously reintegrate that data into the solution model, we can help basically farmers make better decisions, but also everyone in the food supply chain also make better decisions and mitigate spoilage. So this solution is growing, and we can think of it as a collective effort between a cooperative of farmers or between multiple cities. And then once this solution is more robust and built, it can also be borrowed or lent or provided as an open solution to other countries, not just in Nigeria. Many other countries may face the same exact problems. And someone may actually take some of the solution, improve on it, and make it probably usable in IoT devices or by drones observations only. You don't have to have a mobile phone. So there are multiple ramifications of that solution for the problem that can be expanded. So the goal is to have a starting point, define the problems clearly, show that there is a solution for that problem, start collecting data, and give a framework for everyone else to come participate and join, and make it open and available, because open science is important and open innovation is important for everyone to participate. And everything is AI Common. Think of AI Common as a contribution environment where everyone that has identified a problem or a solution decides to contribute the result to a common pool of knowledge so others can either participate, collaborate, or improve upon it and make it even better for others. So this common effort is what we incentivize through this effort.
Amir, so does the mobile app exist right now? It doesn't, right? So that would be one way to contribute to this.
The mobile app is not fully robust. It has been tested. It has it is simulated. It works on a desktop, but the mobile app can be built and to be put in farmers' mobile phone directly. So that's the first need that needs to happen. Exactly.
So that would be perfect for Technovation, which is underway now. So I think that's an immediate action. And what advice do you have for people who are curious to learn more about machine learning, about AI? Like, what's your favorite course? Because there's so many courses out there.
Well, by just Googling learning AI for kids, learning AI for adults, learning AI, you'll find many examples of courses and classes. I would probably, if anyone can access it, there is a course by Andrew Ng called AI for Everyone, which is very easy and gives a very good high-level overview of what AI is, what AI can do. Is very easy to understand, and it's probably one of the best ones out there, and it's called AI for Everyone. So basically it says what it says. And that's a good starting point to get a sense of problems, solutions, limitations, data, privacy, etc. And I think if I understood it, everyone can understand.
That's a good recommendation, Amir. Two short and last questions. So what's a favorite book that you have right now that'll help us be better human beings?
I'm reading a book by Bill Gates right now on climate. But I would probably recommend another book that I read about, I think, 2 years ago, and recently followed it again and started reading it again, called *Sapiens* by Yuval Harari, which is a classic. But I've had pleasure to reread some of the chapters because the historical background of what we do and how we do it seems to be repeating itself. And having a context of history and how we actually look at situations and how we learn or don't learn from it, I think is always a good lesson. So if you want to grow our humankind and thinking about others and have a basically global perspective, if you have not read this book, I think those who have not read this book could actually uh, have a look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I'm trying to understand complex systems, and they say it's always it's not a direct line from what you just immediately did before, but you have to understand the longer arc. And they may not always predict, but it gives you a starting point. Um, Last question, Amir. What should we be working with intention on this year?
Well, COVID has taught us that we need to collaborate and we need to share information and knowledge. And there are many, many problems around us in the world right now. We can quote them earthshots. Climate is one of them. Inequality and racial injustice another one of them. Lack of food, lack of access to healthcare is another one of them. So there are multiple problems around us. And if you want to be intentional, I think being more collaborative and working together is probably a priority because nothing gets done alone and we need teams and we need more brains and finding ways to work on with each other and on top of each other, I think is good rather than diversifying our efforts. So this is a hard proposal. We like to think about it, but it's not easy to do. So if we can be intentional about collaboration and finding mechanisms to collaborate and not replicate, I think this is going to be super important.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think the AI Commons provides such a strong starting foundation. The work has already been started, and I'm excited if the Technovation community can take it forward from there. So, Amir, thank you so much, and I know you found time for us in your busy, busy, busy life. So I'm grateful,
It's my
and
pleasure to be with you, Tara, and I have passion for what you do in Technovation, and I hope that we can collaborate and do even more things with
likewise.
all the alumni and all the young brains that you have basically gathered.
Yeah, they are hungry to make impact, right? So this we need to help. All right. Thank you, everyone, and tune in next week with a conversation with Teresa and STEM next about the impact of COVID on the after-school network in the U.S. So that will be interesting on a different level. So, all right, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.